I say this with the utmost respect, and I mean this as a compliment. I started, I started reading comics really in '86 when I was like 4, but I really started collecting them in the '90s. And by that time, Dargo was around, Thunderstrike was Thor, and
Oh,
so with the first time I ever read Beta Ray Bill, I didn't get the big deal. So you had
right,
created a framework that had become the template for so many things, to the point where I didn't get the big deal out of it until many years later. It's the same
right.
thing with X Titans, because you and Chris introduced the source wall.
That's right.
I didn't know that you had introduced the source wall. To me, it was just a thing that was always there.
Right.
Uh, and hopefully soon, because the new Disney Plus Loki show is going to be using the time variance authority. Which, did you even think things would get to this level where
Yeah, of
you
course
just
not. No, I just did it. I did it for fun. I did it partly because I used those letters because I was born in Tennessee. I moved. My parents were living there at the time. My dad was working there. He got transferred to Washington D.C. about when I was about 2 2/3, and so summer of '49, I guess we moved to D.C. And but one of the things Dad would talk about from time to time, I would. He was a scientist and traveled a great deal. And he was a soil scientist, studied soils, traveled all over the country. And he was a fan of the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is a program to bring electrification to rural areas that just didn't have it and weren't going to get it from the major power companies because it was expensive. So the government stepped in and they built dams on the Tennessee River and probably elsewhere, Fontana Dam, Norris Dam, and put in generators and electrified a lot of country in that area that was not electrified. Now, I haven't studied the history of the TVA because that's the Tennessee Valley Authority. That's where those initials came from. And the dad's version of it was that a lot of the power companies, the local power companies, weren't very happy about it because they charged less than the other power companies. So other power companies had to keep their prices down somewhat to compete with the TVA. And of course, it was a government program. So nowadays, I'm sure there'd be a certain number of political operatives who'd be appalled by the government stepping into this private enterprise. But my dad really liked it, and because he felt that it kind of leveled the playing field. And so I've always loved the Tennessee Valley Authority, knowing nothing about it other than what my dad told me. I could be completely off base. But as a result, I also love those initials. So I needed a time thing. And I love time travel stories. I love time stories in general. So I came and I somewhere the Time Variance Authority came up as a name, and I was off and running.